Lagos, Nigeria, working in technology sales in Nigerian startups. So I kind of transitioned into product management as well, like maybe some people on the call have done. I was in sales, but I really felt like I would enjoy being a product manager because the parts of my job that I really enjoyed were like, speaking with customers or like getting feedback, sharing feedback back to the product team. So I was like just searching for ways to become a product manager for like one whole year, and then finally became a product manager. But then I feel because I didn't really go through a very, well, there's no standardized way to be a product manager, but I feel like the way I went through, I was just kind of like dumped into the deep end. So there was a lot of imposter syndrome, and there still is. Yeah, so I hope I'm able to share some of what I've learned on this call, and I hope it's helpful and useful. I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to a screen, so I'm going to try and make it as interactive as possible and just like pause and see if there are like any questions or like comments or contributions, just so it's kind of like more like a conversation and not just me like just talking. So I will pause and see if anyone has any questions about like my background or about like where I work, and then we could just go from there. I feel like if you have a question, you should be able to like raise your hand or just unmute yourself or drop in the chat. Okay, cool. I don't think there are any questions. Baba Tope. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Subomi. Good evening. Okay, sorry. I would like to know how you transitioned into the space, how the whole journey began.
Yeah, I can share a little bit more about that. So I was working in sales, like I said, and I kind of just wanted to work in product management. So I did a lot of research. I was just trying to figure out like what are all the like different paths that are possible to transition into product management. So I figured out that it's either I moved internally in the company that I was at, or I just got a job as like a junior product manager or a product manager intern or something. Or yeah, I feel like those were the only two paths I saw. Maybe I go for like my MBA and get a job after that or something wild like that. So I was just trying to figure out like out of the paths that I identified, which ones were the most feasible for me. And it was transition internally, but also like trying to get one of the like programs. So like the rotational programs, the associate programs for like product management. And yeah, I just got into one of the rotational ones just randomly. I didn't think I was going to get it. And then I had applied to the one that Meta runs. And I got thrown into the deep end and had to like figure out how to be a PM at a like big tech company. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Interesting. Thanks.
Cool. Okay. If there are no more questions, I'll just go in. But if there are any questions at any point, just feel free to raise your hand and I will pause. So imposter syndrome, I feel like PMs, product managers, are a lot more prone to feeling imposter syndrome. And I feel like everyone on the call probably knows what imposter syndrome is, but the way I like to define it is just like when you don't feel you deserve to be somewhere. So you feel like a fraud. It's either you feel like you're not qualified to be at your job, or you feel like you don't have the skills to do a certain thing, or you don't have the right information to make certain decisions, and you've been put in that position where you need to do that thing. And so you basically just feel like you're not the right person for the role you're meant to play. And as PMs, we feel that more, and that's because PMs usually have like greater responsibility to make certain decisions within the team. But also as a PM, you didn't necessarily like go to school for being a PM. So you feel sometimes that you have no formal education, like you haven't really been trained to be a PM in that sense. So it's like, I need experience to be a good PM. And if I don't have that experience, then it's like, how am I qualified to make this decision that I'm meant to make? And then the third thing where I would say, why PMs typically feel imposter syndrome more is because like your colleagues will look to you for all the answers. So like I said, you have great responsibility, and the engineers, the designers, everyone is like, hey, do we do A or B? What decision do we want to make? And like when I joined Meta, that was one of the big things for me that like kind of like shocked me about being a PM. Because like, to be frank, before going in, I wasn't too clear on what a PM does. I just knew I wanted to like help to build products. I wanted to get feedback from customers, and I wanted to use it to build products. That was all I knew when I was going in. So it was like I was a very odd case where I literally didn't know what a PM really used to do. Matthew, can you please mute your mic? I think Matthew's just joining. Okay, I think it's muted. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, cool. It's muted now. Yeah, so like I was saying, I wasn't trained to be a PM. I hadn't been a PM before, and I was basically thrown into the deep end. At Meta, you kind of get a lot of like autonomy, and you are responsible for like your product area, you're responsible for making decisions, you're responsible for solving conflicts and all of the good things that PMs do. And I was so blank. I didn't know how I was meant to do it. I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I felt that I wasn't qualified or had the skills. And like in terms of tackling that, I feel like the first thing that I decided to do, that I feel that everyone should do when you're feeling imposter syndrome, is first of all just realize like most people have gone through this phase. So I just started to humanize my colleagues, right? So I would look at PMs who like I was like, wow, this PM is amazing. They're like the best PM I've ever seen. They're doing their job perfectly. And just think back, like there was a time when that PM felt the way I did. There was a time where they didn't have as much experience. They didn't have as much like great products under their belt. There was a time where they hadn't done PMing before. And if I just like sit down and think back to how they felt, it was probably similar, right? And there's a reason why I was feeling that way. I literally did not know how to be a PM. So I needed to figure that out first before I see if like this imposter syndrome is real or not, right? So, like imposter syndrome, I don't think I deserve to be here. But like if I've not tried, then like I can't even answer that question of whether I deserve to be here. So the first thing I did was just I really threw myself into work. Like I started learning things. I started like basically doing the actual work, shadowing like PMs I thought were great, and just like trial and error. Like things failed, things were successful. And what I realized was the more I did it and the more I made decisions that were great or that led to great results, I figured out that it's less about me and just more about the situation you're in. Like no one really cares if I deserve to be there or not. Like I just need to figure out what to do in that specific situation that I'm in. And from my experience, I kind of learned how to like start making those decisions and not worry too much about whether like am I the right person to make this decision or not. I would say the second thing that I did was just like fake it. Yeah, there's like loads of people who are great at their job, and I feel like half of the people are faking it. People don't tell you, people seem like they know everything, but a lot of people, one, are either saying things that they don't really know, especially as PMs, or two, they're just like very confident people. And that's something that I needed to learn, like how to fake it till I became like this really great PM that had like worked on a lot of successful products. And that really helps with imposter syndrome, because then you realize that like you're faking it. So it's not like, maybe you accept that, okay, maybe I actually don't deserve to be here, but I'm here already. So I'm going to fake it and I'm going to like make the best out of it. And that was what I did in my situation. Like I was working on projects that were affecting like millions of people. And I just realized that if I didn't do that, like if I didn't work on it, it was just going to fail. So I kind of had no choice, and I just had to fake it as much as I could until I got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, I kind of figured out how to make this kind of decisions. The third thing is just being very vulnerable with your team, with your manager, with people around you. Like if you don't know something and like you really don't know it, and there are things you can do to get better at it, like you should share that. Like, hey, I'm not the best at like strategy, work. Like I'm not very good at figuring out what we should build next, or I'm not very good at figuring out the vision of this product. Like I need some help to figure that out. And if you're in a good place that kind of supports your growth, you should be able to get that support. If you can't, that's something you can also start to do by yourself, by doing like research, watching videos online, by joining communities like this to kind of just learn from people who have done this before. And yeah, I want to pause and see if anyone has like questions, or if anyone like has like experienced imposter syndrome and has a story they want to share, or just like jump into the conversation. This is a really quiet group. Yes, Deborah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I just want to share my experience. So when I started interning as a product manager in a financial technology company, so number one, I did not know anything about finance. Neither do I know anything about the technological aspects, the APIs, and all of that. So it was really very difficult. I felt so inadequate. I felt like I was useless at some point. Yeah, I mean, when my boss asked me to write PRD, after I've like researched and spent about
Oh, Deborah, you're muted. I think you got accidentally muted.
oh sorry.
Yeah.
So I was saying, for example, if my boss asked me to probably write a PRD for a new feature we're developing, I would make a lot of research and spend about hours researching. After I submit, my boss is going to edit everything, and it's not look as if it changed the whole thing. So I'll be like, sorry, what have I been doing all this while? So it felt like I felt so useless. For the first 3 months, I was just like, okay, I don't think this is for me. And most times I'll just wake up. Sometimes I'll cry. I'll just cry and cry. And I mean, it's just like that. I won't say I really overcame it like that, but I think I got better, and my boss was very encouraging. Though it would not really like, I mean, it's a workplace, so it's not like he's going to say you did well when you obviously did rubbish. But I think I got better. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, totally relatable. Like same with me. Like when I started at my job, I was pretty much like out of like everything I knew. I was out of my entire comfort zone. Because I was starting off in an area where I wasn't super familiar with. So my first rotation was in like metaverse stuff, building out like AR. Like I was like, what is this? It was super technical. I was working with engineers who had been doing this for 20 years, like people who were way older than me. And I was just like, what am I meant to do? I'm also in a multicultural environment, so I'm Black in a white dominated workplace, and like it was just a lot of things at the same time. And but the main thing that stood out was the fact that I didn't know how to do the job. Like I was literally, I was new to the job, I was new to the role, I was new to the area, and I needed to give myself grace, right? It took me, like on every team I joined, it took me about 3 months to ramp up. And so that's very normal. Like you can't expect yourself to join as a new product manager in a new area and automatically just like start delivering from day one. Like that's unheard of. That's where faking it comes in, right? You just like do what you can, like you said. So you had to work on a PRD and you did something and your manager like changed the entire thing. I feel like a great way to approach that would be, he asked you to do a PRD. You don't know anything about like the financial industry or like APIs. I mean, if you're working there, you should have started already reading up about that. But a good thing to say would be to be vulnerable with him and be like, hey, like, I don't know if you remember, but this is my first PM job and I haven't really done a lot of PRDs in the past. Can you share with me one of the PRDs that you've done for a different product? Like if he's your manager, he's probably been doing product management for maybe a while, probably at the same company, and he's done some PRDs in the past, or he's seen some PRDs that he's been like, hey, that's a great PRD. I'm like, can you share that with me just so that I have a feeling of how to do one? Another thing with product management is that it's so different in different companies, right? Like I could share the PRDs that we do at Meta with you and you'll be like, what is this? Like, how is this even a PRD, right? It's so different. So even if you've been a product manager at another company and you come to a new company, sometimes it's like you still need time to figure out how things are done within that company or within that team. So I feel like it's always great to share what you know, what you don't know, especially with your managers. With the team, a lot of the time you need to fake it because you need to earn your team's like respect and let them know that you've got things. So that's where like maybe more faking it might help. But with your manager, I always encourage like being super vulnerable about what you know and what you don't know, and just always asking for examples. Like, hey, can you share with me an example of a PRD that you've seen that's like amazing, the best PRD you've ever seen, or like the best, whatever he asked you to do that you've ever seen. And I think that would help, especially when you're new, and you can always play the new card. Like at Meta, we always call it like, you're a new noob. So you're like, noob question. Can you share this with me? Like you play that for the first 6 months when you join, and everyone would like answer you instantly. So yeah, that's what I'll say. But thank you, Deborah, for sharing. I think next in the line is Adepoju. Adepoju Adewale.
Okay. Good evening, Subomi.
Hi.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. So how was your interview session? How was it like? What was the experience like?
Yeah, sure. So first, I would just say, just relating to imposter syndrome, like interviews are also something that like, I used to get imposter syndrome on a lot. So when I was interviewing, I was like, first I was so shocked. I was like, why did they call me to interview? Like I just applied. I was just joking. Like, I didn't think they were gonna like call me. And I'm like, damn, okay, I need to actually prepare for this thing. I had a job, like it was a lot. So I had to figure out how to like structure my time to be able to like prepare and give it like my all, and also still work at my job and do like other life things. The interview itself was 3 stages. So it was like just first speaking with the recruiter. Second, there was like one stage, I think it was like 2 interviews with 2 product managers. And then the third stage was 3 interviews with 3 product managers. And after they're like, hey, you got the offer. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but like, so the imposter syndrome was still really heavy. Then it was like, I wasn't sure why they did that, but I was like, okay, I'll take it. I'll move to London. No worries. And I'll figure out how to do the job some way. But yeah, did I answer your question, or do you want more detail?
You have more details, definitely.
Yeah. So like I feel there's so much research, there's so much information online. Like if you basically just Google like Meta RPM interviews, like you will see so much. Interviews are very different to each other. So they do like product sense, product execution, and you just have to like answer questions based on what they ask you. They could just ask you anything like in line with those type of questions. But like research, that's the key thing. Because yeah, I did a lot of research. Like I'm an information junkie. So when I had the interviews, I was just making sure I had seen every type of the question they could ask me. That's also something that helps with imposter syndrome. What that helps me is kind of like having information. Or like, so for example, if I have a meeting and I'm really not sure, like I'm already feeling like, wow, I'm not the one that's meant to lead this meeting. I make sure I dedicate time beforehand to have like all the information that's possible or that's necessary for me to have about that like session or that meeting. And it just helps me feel more confident. Like I might get asked questions in the meeting that I still don't know the answer to, but like at least I don't go into the meeting feeling inadequate or feeling like I don't have enough like information. Cool. So I hope that answered your question. So yeah,
Thank you very much.
cool. Emmanuel, and then I'll just go to, I can see a question in the chat.
Hi, Shubham. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of low, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your, for all that you said. I have like 2 questions. Okay, so the first is, what kind of product manager are you? So we all know, most people know that there are different kinds of product managers. Like there are the generalists, and there are some that are like the technical product managers. So what space are you in currently? first of all. Then secondly, what skills did you have, either soft or technical as well, that helped you transition? So I transitioned from sales as well, so I can relate with your experience, although mine was internally within the startup. So what skills did you have that helped you transition from your tech sales that you're doing in Nigeria to Meta that you're currently doing? Thank
Yeah, sure. So I'm a generalist product manager, pretty much because I'm super early for two reasons. I'm super early in my career, so I am really still trying to kind of like feel where I'm more comfortable in as a product manager. I know I prefer to work on like visual products, so like design products that are more design heavy, more like 0 to 1 products as well. That's where you typically find me. But I'm still very generalist. Like this last half, I worked on something super, super technical. It was a challenge. It was a steep learning curve, but like that's just what I'm trying to do now, so I can figure out where I want to be like long term. I'm not a technical product manager yet. I didn't start off that way because like I'm not technical in terms of like my background. So I studied economics at Covenant University, and then yeah, that's the only degree I have. So I still don't know like how to code in the like I can't be an engineer right now, but like over the past year, I've definitely learned loads about like programming in different languages, computer science, and I've become like way more technical, especially on my last team. So yeah, that's the first question. Second question, the skills that I had, soft skills or otherwise. Good question. So I would say like first, I was just very So with like my technology sales background, I was very good at like speaking with people and like very good with people in general also. Like my interpersonal relationships are really good. I know how to build relationships, how to like influence decisions without like necessarily having any authority over people. I know how to like make people like me when I have conversations. That also really helped me with interviews. So that's like the first skill. And like as a product manager, you have to talk to a lot of people. Like I don't know how product managers are in like other companies, but like a Meta, you have a lot of meetings and you do a lot of talking. Like this week was no meeting week, and I just realized how like a huge part of my work was like meetings and like talking to people, because like I had so much time to actually like work on documents or like speak to certain customers and all of that. What other skills did I have? I can't think of a lot of skills right now. But yeah, in terms of like technical skills, I wasn't too versed like technically. I had spoken to a lot of customers in the past, so I was really good at like, also speaking with customers and like crafting like product stories and things like that. Before I got the job, I also had worked on a startup that I started with a friend, where I was like the like lead product marketing manager kind of situation. And I really like that was very scrappy. So I really had to like go out, speak to people, take the feedback, put it back into product. And that really helped develop like my product sense. Like I think before I got the job, I had a really good product sense. Like I would use products and I would just be like, why did they do this? Like I was very nitpicky, like when I was in my everyday life and I was using different products. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Emmanuel? I feel like Emmanuel's internet is a bit weird and he jumped off the call and came back. But I hope you heard most of what I said. Okay, cool. I will go to question.
Yes, I did. Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you.
Cool. Let me go to the chat. I can see Courageous. So Courageous said, so you didn't start out as an entry-level PM. How did you do your first tasks, your first time as a PM? Well, like I was thrown into the deep end, to be frank. Like I joined the company and I was thrown into the deep end. Now, because I joined a bigger company, there's a lot of grace around like ramp up. So they typically say in America, like you can take 6 months to really ramp up. So like no one expects you to like do a lot of things in your first week or your first month, really. I had the first month as onboarding, like I wasn't doing any work at all. And then the second month I joined my team, but like no one really expected anything from me, which was very weird. So yeah, I just learned, I figured out how other people were like other PMs were doing things, and I tried to learn from them. And in my first team, I remember it was me just figuring out where the gaps were in the teams. Like, oh, okay, no one's doing this. Let me try and fill that gap. No one's doing this. Let me try and fill that gap. Now I don't do that anymore, because now I try to figure out what's the most important thing I could be doing. But initially, when I started, I was trying to fill gaps, because that was the best way I felt like I could help to add value immediately to the team, especially because I hadn't been a PM before, and I wasn't sure exactly what a lot of PMs used to do. What were the questions you were asked in your interview, considering you were not experienced? So they do specific type of interviews called product sense and product execution. They don't expect you to have experience. Product sense questions would be like, can you build a product for, can you build Facebook for children? Like, how would you build Facebook for children? Or how would you build a camera for blind people? It could be anything. Like, it could be, your interviewer could ask you anything about like just building anything for anybody. And then the product execution, which is like, imagine you were the lead PM of Instagram stories. How would you measure success? Like, what would you do if you came in one day and story views had dropped by 30%? Like, what does that mean to you, and what do you do? So those are the kind of questions. They're not really questions you need experience for. For behavioral questions, they just ask you things like, oh, when did you leave, when did you like have work in a team with conflict, blah, 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 how did you resolve it? And just those typical like behavioral questions that you get. Question, did you get your job offer with Meta from Nigeria? Yes, I was living and working in Nigeria. I got the offer and got relocated to London. And now live in London. What certifications do you have or hope to get? I have no like actual product management like certifications, and I'm not currently hoping to get anyone. I feel like just like I think product management is a job where you learn more from experience. So if you already have like, if I'm already in a job where I'm a product manager, I'm learning. So I don't really currently look forward to doing any type of like formal certifications. One that I've had my eye on maybe is like Reforge, the Reforge PM program, but not really for the certification, it's just to learn, right? Like to learn how to be a better PM. I feel like in product management, like at least I know at Meta, no one really cares about it. Like no one cares about product management certifications. I'm not really sure how it works at other companies, but no one cares. Oh, sorry about that. But here, like no one cares. So I'm not really super looking for like certifications to work on. Okay, we have one question from Idowu. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Subomi. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Okay, I'm a newbie. Let me say that, and I'm an aspiring PM. And okay, so I'm an artist and also an art curator. So I have no idea in PM or anything tech. So I just want to know, because even when I join the classes, I'm always wondering, being skeptical about the whole process. Like, am I sure I'm going to do this? Am I sure I want to go for this? Am I sure this is for me? But I wanted something different from what I've already known. So because, the world is evolving, and even art itself, you can find it online. It's tech everywhere, the NFTs and all that. So I would like to ask, because when you're talking and your experiences when you started, I was seeing myself in what you were saying. I saw a lot of questioning, a lot of probably disbelief, like, can you do this, can I do this? So now I'm wondering, how can you guide someone like me, or what do you think you can say to encourage someone like me? Because it's a process, a new beginning for me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to turn to. Everyone around me, they are not PMs. Yes, it's a new thing for me, new idea. Can you just help me out? Say something, encourage me. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say like you need to want it first of all, like because it's a lot of work, like especially when you're transitioning from non-tech to just becoming a PM. Like it was a lot of work for me, and I feel like it's a lot of work for anyone who wants to do it. So like you need to want it first. So I would say first of all, you need to go do some soul searching. Like, is this really what you want to do? And to do that, you probably need to find people who are PMs already, like learn more about the role, learn more about what they do, their regular like day-to-day jobs, like figure out if it's something that you think you will enjoy. Is it something that aligns with your like personal strengths and like the things that you're good at? Like I can imagine someone who like, for example, if you're going to be a PM at my company and you like hated talking, I don't know how that would work. Like that person will probably hate their job because you talk so much as a PM at Meta. So like you just need to figure out like what exactly is a PM by like talking to people who are already PMs or like learning more about the role, and then figure out if you really want it. And then if you decide that, okay, I think I want, not even I think, I know I want to be a PM. I know these are my goal companies that I want to be a PM at, but I need to start from somewhere, right? You need like a plan, some sort of plan to motivate you. You need to make sure you're speaking to people, you're learning more about the role. Like it's very, very possible. Like I transition, people are transitioning. Like you will get imposter syndrome. You will feel like it's not for you. You will feel like you can't do it. But if you know you want it, it's extremely possible for you to do it. You just need to first of all figure out if you want it, because I mean, no one, like it's hard to find someone that will just encourage you. Like if you don't want it, like you need to want it, you know. So it's like it's either you want it or you don't. And then if you want it, then it's like, okay, now I know I want it. I want to speak to people who already have this job, already have it the way I feel like I do want it, and then learn more about it, get more inspiration and all of that. Did that help?
Yes, that helped. Thank you so much. I was even about to ask, I don't know if you can hear me. I was even about to ask, I was typing before you asked the question, if that helped. I was about to ask how you applied for the job at Metal. I think I heard you used to work for Google before Metal.
I did an internship there, but I used to work at a Nigerian startup in Nigeria, yeah, doing sales.
Oh, okay. So you applied for it or as an intern, or you just
I applied for, it's like a rotational product management role. So I just applied on the website. Just very
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Someone dropped in the chat, how long have you been working at Meta? I started in June 2021. Cool. And then I will go to, oh, someone raised their hand, but I can't find them. Or maybe they dropped it. Okay. So I'm enjoying this. Can people ask more questions? I don't have any more content. So please ask questions so I can respond. Someone said product management is a journey. Yeah, it's a journey. Like you would like get better at it. Like once you start the job, like everyone starts in a very similar way, like not knowing much, having imposter syndrome, not being sure what a PM is meant to do. But like you will get better. So after like your first 3 months or first like 6 months, you will realize that, oh, I've kind of figured this out. Like there's still so much to learn, but like I'm not really scared of like making certain decisions anymore. B.
All right. Can you can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. My question is concerning the culture. I used to ask a lot of question about the culture, and as that's helped you with your PM job at Metal. What has been the culture there, and how has it related or helped you in terms of your role as a PM? That's my first question. And the second question is okay, for my own end, because I started fresh because I transitioned from engineering to PM. And all right, I do have it because I'm currently working with gurus, basically people that have more experience than me. But I think my own work, because when I first introduced myself, I told them basically I don't know anything basically, but I think one of it is I had a good team collaboration. They were able to help me in terms of what I don't know, and also, and think one of those things that's helping me too, because my company, we have everything we do is very transparent. You tend to see everything in terms of document and the likes like that out there. So in case you want maybe you want to write a PRD, you can easily go somewhere on the Notion, check it out, see what is being done, and you can replicate this. So for you, how is it like?
Okay, cool. Thank you. So the first question is culture. The second question also seems like culture. I didn't really get different
Yeah,
questions.
something. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the culture at Meta is very similar to what you described. It's very like there's like a lot of information flowing around and there's a lot of nice people. So it's a very good culture for someone who has imposter syndrome. What kind of? So it's a good culture for someone that has imposter syndrome because like there's so many people to help you. Like you can ask questions and not feel like you're going to be like ostracized or like be like, oh, who's that person that's asking that silly question? Like it's a culture that encourages you to fail. Like one of like the popular value that we have is like move fast. And I don't know if we move very fast, but like at least what that does internally is that people are not scared to like fail. Because there was a reason why that happened. Like maybe you made a bad decision or a bad call, but like you did that because you were trying to maybe move faster or maybe have more impact. So that culture makes it easy for people like me that have imposter syndrome to thrive. Because I can ask people questions, I can make decisions without being too scared. I can fail essentially and I'll be okay, right? So yeah, at Meta as well, I would say it's also like pretty transparent, like compared to other big tech companies. Like, if I want to work on a PRD, especially when I initially started, I would like not Google, but like we have the internal search thing, and I will kind of like check on like PRDs, teams that are similar to mine, check for PRDs they've done. I'll have like 3, 4 PRDs that I will look through and be like, oh, okay, this is what this person did well. This is what this person didn't do well. Like I understand what this PRD was saying, but this PRD is a bit like too technical, too much engineering, like jargon. I don't really understand the product. And I will be able to like, okay, take the best parts and figure out how to build my own or how to write my own PRD. I remember the first PRD I wrote, which was like maybe August, September last year. And like that was essentially what I did. I picked out like I had like done a lot of research. And I didn't ask my manager then. Like that was something I could have just done, ask my manager, what was like the best PRD that you've seen? Can you share with me? That would have been way easier, but I didn't do that. I did my own research. And like when I was done with the PRD, she was like, oh wow, like she wasn't expecting much, but I really like this essentially was a really good PRD. And what that did for me as someone with imposter syndrome was like it kind of like validated my skill. And the next time I had to write a PRD, I felt like I was good at it. Like I wasn't thinking too much about like whether I was going to fail or not, because the last time I did it, I didn't necessarily fail. So like that's something that happens when you have imposter syndrome. When you do things the first time and you fail, the second time, the time you get it right, the next time it will be a lot easier for you to do it. And like you won't be as scared as like previously. So yeah, I'll say the culture at Meta is it's transparent to an extent, like especially considering that it's a massive company. I would say it's one of the most transparent out of all the big tech companies. So I've worked at Meta and I've worked at Google, and I would say Meta was like way more transparent, and just like the culture is just everyone is nice. Like people that aren't even nice outside of work, they just have to be nice at work, like because of the way we do like performance. It's like and personally, I don't care if you're really a nice person. Like I don't care if you're faking it, but at least at work you're nice, and I ask you a question and you answer me with honesty and like the right thing that I need to do. That's all I need to do my work. Cool.
All right, thank you.
Some questions in the chat, and I know someone raised their hand. Please, if you want to ask, like raise your hand again because I can't see the hand anymore. When I applied, they seem to accept only people in that area this year. Well, I don't know. I know there was someone that joined from Nigeria that joined after me. 2 people actually. The cohort after me, there was a Nigerian and a Ghanaian, and the cohort after her, there was a Nigerian. So I don't really know about how they pick, but I know it's not based on like location. Do you get moved around from team to team? If yes, how do you manage having to bond with different teams? That's the hardest part for me. I'm done with the program now, so that's great. But that was the hardest part, which was like 6 months on each team. 6 months is short. 6 months is when they say you really ramp up a Meta. So like it was hard having to build these really strong relationships with my engineering manager, with my engineers, with my designer, with my UX researcher, and then having to move at the end of 6 months. Like it was hard, but like the benefit for me now is like I have a great network at the company. I've worked in like AR, I've worked in like machine learning, and I've worked in like hardware. So it's like there are PMs at the company that haven't done all of this in their entire career. Like I've literally worked in three, I wouldn't say like industries, but three very, very different areas of the company. And like outside of the company, those are basically three different companies, right? Like so it's really helped me learn how product management works in like different parts. Like some of my teams, they were more engineering led, like just because it was a very technical area, and I had to figure out how to add value and how to work in those type of teams, like how to still lead decisions when engineers were super opinionated, super intelligent, way older, had been working in the industry for 20 years. So yeah, it's like it's good, but it also has its cons, like anything in life. Subomi, please, what does a PRD entail? It's basically like a document that outlines your product and what your product will do for your user. So you want to build a product, you need to figure out like what are the product details. So what's the description, what are the risks that you envision for the product, and also just have like maybe some sort of table that outlines like the priorities. So like if your engineers are going to look at that document and be like, okay, this is what I need to figure out how to build. This is what the priority is. So at Meta, we use P0, P1, P2, P3. P0, you must have at launch. P1, desired, highly desirable. P2, nice to have. So it basically just helps outline the priorities for your products, but also things like just like who you're building for, the risks that you envision, how you're going to mitigate those risks, dependencies that you have on other teams or other like technologies and things like that. Is there an age range for people that can apply? I do not think so. I have no idea, but I doubt it. In terms of, I don't know if you're saying that people like, is there an age cap or is there a lower age limit? But I feel like for both, there's none, because people come straight from uni, and there are people like the girl that joined with me in the UK. She was already working in the UK for like 11 years, and before she decided to transition into products. So I don't think there's an age range, but don't quote me on that. Cool. So we have 10 minutes left. So last opportunity to ask questions or drop questions in the comments about imposter syndrome, about like dilemmas that you want me to help you through, your experience, whatever it is. I will try my best to share how I would like tackle that. If there are no more questions as well, I think this is a good time to end the session because I've shared everything I know. If you hear me, yes, please go ahead.
Hi, Subomi. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. So earlier you talked about faking it, right? Fake it till you make it kind of thing. And what came to mind was, what if someone calls your bluff? Like, you're with your team, and then your manager already knows, okay, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, so you're sorted there. But where you're trying to show your team that you're in charge, right? And then someone calls your bluff when you're discussing something, and you essentially have no idea how to go about that. How do you address that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think because it helps me clarify what fake it till you make it is. Like fake it till you make it is not like I'm trying to think of an example. Like maybe we're talking about some technical language, some programming language, and it's like, oh, I need the product manager to go through this code. Maybe you're in a company where product managers go through code or something. And let's say you don't understand the programming language, and you're like, okay, I will go through the code, and in that case, I'll be like, I don't know the code. Like, I'm not the right person. We need to figure out how we get you the person to go through this code. But like, when I say fake it till you make it, I mainly mean like being confident with the team that you know the answer or you will help them get the answer. So for example, with my engineers, I literally get so many questions that I do not know. And there are two options for me. I'm either going to say, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. Or I'm going to be like, oh, good question. I believe it's this team that's handling this. Let me speak with them. I already started speaking with the PM there. Like, let me speak with them and I'll just get back to you on the answer. So it's more about just being like super confident that you're on it. Like, sometimes they will ask me something and I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about that actually. I don't know it yet, but I will get back to you. And just making sure you're the PM that always gets back to people. Like when you say I'll revert, you actually do revert. So it's not really like faking it in terms of like saying you know things that you don't, but just kind of like making sure they know you're on it, being confident that you're on it, even when you're not. Sometimes, sometimes I'm really what's the word? I have so much work to do. Like I'm tracking behind on what I need to do. And my engineer is like sending me a message like, hey, have you looked at the doc that I created? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on it right now. And I literally just opened the doc and I'm looking at it. So like there are different ways, there are different like examples, but I guess like it's also a judgment call as to know when like you can fake it and when you can't, if that makes sense. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the question. That was a good one. All right. Fisayo. Fisayo, you raised your hand. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, good evening. Good evening. I'm very sorry I came into the meeting very late. I really want to ask some few questions. Well, in the process of you saying you're faking it to make it, does it really mean that as a PM, you don't really that means you don't really have an idea of what exactly you want to do? Or does it really mean that if you're working on an MV presently and you try as much to, you know, you are not, let me use the word, you are not prompt to the response of your team? I don't know, maybe get what I'm trying to say. Does it really mean that you can stay back and until you're able to find out what exactly your programmers mean? Like when they ask you a question that you're not really sure of it, does it mean that as a PM you can take your time to take it, that you don't know it, and take your time to find out about that stuff? Or is that what is that what you're trying to
I'm not sure I really get a question, but let me reiterate because like I feel like
Okay.
fake is a hot topic. So like I can see Olabanji say in the comments that it doesn't mean you should pretend. Instead, carry a strong sense of confidence even if you're not clear. So like you're not going to know everything as the PM, even though people expect you to know everything. There are questions you get asked that you do not know the answer to, and there are decisions that they will ask you to make that you just cannot make right now because you do not have all the information that you need. The thing is, you still need to uphold like the teams, like you need to because as the PM, you kind of like are the upholder of the team's morale, right? So you need to make sure you remain confident, you remain like very level-headed, and you're able to still keep the team's confidence and like respect in you that Subomi is going to figure it out. Like with my team right now, they know I don't know a lot of things. Like I'm in a very technical space. They know that. They know my background. Like I was very honest, clear with them. Like, see, this is what I know. I know you all are engineers that have been working for 20 years. I have not. This is what I know. But what I can tell you is I will always get you the answers that you need. I will always get you the decisions that you need to make, like as soon as you need them. Like I will connect you with the people that can help you with those decisions, and I will find the answers for you. I might not know them instantly, but I will find it. So whenever they ask me stuff, they're like, they trust and they believe that Subomi will get them what they need. And that's the relationship that I have with a lot of my engineers, despite being not technical, not like on the, like I ask questions in meetings. So by fake it till you make it, I'm not saying you're in a meeting and maybe they're throwing around technical terms that you don't know, and then you're like not saying anything. No, I'm like, hi everyone, a lot of engineering jargon. Can we please explain what this means? Right. So yeah, I hope I've not like confused everyone. Please ask questions. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, I think we're towards the end. I just kind of go through the comments and see if there's anything I can answer. How are you able to manage a knowledge gap between technical ability and engineering? I feel like I just kind of answered that. Like I ask a lot of questions. I'm really upfront and clear about what I know and what I don't know. And my promise to the team is I will get you your answers that you need. Like I will just trust me. Whatever you need, I will go and learn it and I'll figure it out and I'll get it to you. That's my promise. My promise to the team is not knowing everything. I'm not technical. I don't know it, but I will get you what you need. So I feel like that's how I'm able to work with my engineers and build like really good relationships. And it's just, remember, it's a promise I've made to them in my head. So it's like I can't fail on that promise. Like if I'm not going to sleep because I need to find something, I'm going to do that. Like I will make sure I hold up or I uphold, my word. How are you able to flesh out your CV to look appealing to an international big tech company? I would say like for this, I had a really good experience to do that. So when I was in the university, I had interned at Google in Nigeria. And then I had gone through like a bunch of interview processes. So I was what's the word? I had kind of learned how my CV needed to look. Like I knew it just needed to be one page because no one is going to get to the second page. I knew that I needed to highlight numbers and just figure out like if I was a recruiter looking at this CV, like I'm the recruiter, I'm looking at the CV. Is it going to make sense? I'm a recruiter who doesn't know any of the acronyms in Nigeria or who doesn't know what like I literally have descriptions for all the companies I've worked at because no one knows what like Softcom is, which is where I work at in Nigeria. So like just making things very clear. I think that was the last question. I already answered this one. My experience with handling my first task as a PM. I answered it earlier. So I feel like we're right on time. This was very interesting for me and very enjoyable. I had a good time. I hope everyone did and like learned something. Yeah, I will pass it on to Blessing to kind of like close it out.
All right, thank you so much. I like the fact that you just made it very interactive, having to discuss with everyone. Thank you so much. We're grateful you answered all of our questions so accurately, and it just makes sense. I mean, this is like one of the best sessions, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, thank you so much. We had a good time. We had, an interesting conversation with you. I don't know if there are other questions, but if there are other questions, I mean, we can always reach out to you or InnovaLab as a community. Sorry, give me a second. All right, sorry about that. So InnovaLab as a community of product managers, and it's just it's an awesome place to be. And yes, the community has been buzzing, sort of. Everyone is just thrilled about the topic. And we're just grateful that you just came, and more like you came to ease off a lot of burning questions. And I'm just glad that we're able to learn, right? I just dropped the link to InnovaLab community. If you'd be willing to join, that's for everyone on the call. If you're not in the community, then it's a good place to be honest. And I think you should join, right? It's a place where there are average product managers. Did I say average? Mid-level product managers, entry level, senior PMs. And it's just a place where, you get to learn, right? Yes, so thank you so much, Subomi. The team is saying thank you, right? Because the way you just handled the session, I did not even bother to say, okay, well, let me even moderate, facilitate. You just took the questions and you just eased everything. Thank you so much for making this an interactive session. It's been one of the most interactive sessions we've had at InnovaLab. So thank you so much. Right. So I think Banji would be saying one or two things before we end the session. So yes. Hi Banji. Good evening.
Yeah. Hi Subomi. Good evening.
Hi.
Yes. Good evening. How are you doing? Thank you for the session.
Yeah, no, it was I enjoyed it.
Okay, awesome. So really appreciate you, spending time with us this evening. And I believe that, everyone, one or two persons have gotten ideas from your conversation. I also like that how, just like, Blessing said, it was relatable, right? The way you said, even me, I have imposter syndrome. So it made it relatable. And I think everybody do have imposter syndrome at one point or the other, right? It's just how it is managed, right? And I think you have done, intense justice to it, right? And if there's just one thing that I will just chip in. I noticed a lot of people are on that conversation about fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. Are we not pretending, or and some people might be coming with the vibe of, are you not just telling us to aspire to inspire? Because that was what was going through my mind, right? But I think, just to drop in, I think I dropped some feedback in the chat, but I think what I would just drop to also add to the feedback that I dropped in the chat is that, when we say, I'm sure when we say fake it till you make it, it's not like, oh, you're coming to pretend, or you're coming to do what you cannot do, or say what you cannot do, right? But it's a place where the founder of Product School calls it, a product manager should be comfortable with ambiguity. Ambiguity means that not knowing what to do part-time, but still comfortable regardless of not knowing what to do. And so many of you, because you probably don't, maybe you have learned product management, you have taken a boot camp, you have gone through a training, and then you are currently maybe doing an internship, or you're on a job, and then you're just confused. Okay, what am I even doing on this job? Say, what is my next thing to do? And so you have that, you might feel that tendency of, oh, I don't even know what I am doing. It is normal. That's where I want to put it. It is super, super normal, right? But the thing there is, you should be comfortable with it. That you should learn to be comfortable with not knowing what to do, but having at the back of your mind that you are going to figure it out along the way, even when you don't know what to do.
I feel like we've lost you, Banji. But yeah, everything you said +1 to that.
Yeah, I think we lost all of Banji. Let me just try to get him right back. Okay. So just a minute, he'll be back. Okay. So I was gonna, yes, there are lots of comments, and everyone is just saying thank you, Subomi, thank you, Subomi, for the session. Someone says she's eloquent. Of course, yes, I will. Why not? She's eloquent, yes. As a PM.
Perfect.
Yes, man.
Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry about
Yes,
that.
yes.
I lost my network. Okay, so I think that's all from my end. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you, Blessing, and thank you, Shubham, once again.
All right, then. Thank you too, Banji. It's great to have everyone on the call today, and thank you for joining in over our product session. Please do well to. Shubham has said a whole lot,